We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years, approximately 86 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2. You're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a 3rd grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Well, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest. Which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives.
Good evening on the West Coast. Good evening in the mountain. Good evening in the Central. Good evening on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Reparationist Perspective, bringing you those Freedmen hot topics and making the case for reparations, making the case for weaponizing our vote, socializing our suffering. And today, family, he's back, y'all. Yes, our future Congressman for District 6, South Carolina, the one, the only, Mr. Marcel Dixon. I'm super excited to have him in the building, as I am you. Welcome, Miss Powell. I see you. And for those of you tuning in for Facebook and Twitter, welcome one and all to the live. It's going to be lit. I've got so much to ask of our future Congressman Dixon. It's like about 6 different topics crammed into one broadcast, many of which you guys have already seen me do broadcast on independently. But I can't wait to hear the richness that oozes from Mr. Dixon every time he blesses TRP with an appearance. So without further ado, because he's on East Coast time and it is very late his time, I don't want to belabor. Let me bring him up, family. Stand by. Mr. Greg Marcel Dixon. Stand by. This is rich. Hold on. Let me bring him up. There he is.
Hello, Angela. Hey, everyone.
What's up, fam? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Blessed and unstoppable, darling.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it. And every time I hear your intro, it reinvigorates me. The blatant the betrayal of our people. So I'm very glad to be here.
I am so glad to have you. Can you give us some updates on how you're doing out there on the campaign trail?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, I am going to very soon show everyone. So if people do not have my Twitter tag, they need to, I'm going to give it to them, Marcel for Congress, the digit 4. That's my tag on Twitter. I'm also going to upload this to TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, a clip from my campaign trail, just to let them know that it is now official. I officially filed on the 16th of Wednesday. And being that I am here on your show, I want to announce that I am going to Congress to lead, right? I'm not just going to work within the confines of the system because this system has not worked for us. So I am going to make this system work for us. So I want to announce that April 18th, I want us to start referring to that as Reparations Day. We may call that Tax Day. Well, if anyone is owed something on that day, it is our people. And not just April 18th, but every day. But since that's the day the government is looking to get their money, we are going to say to the government, where's our money? So April 18th, I want to call Reparations Day.
You heard it here first, family. April 18th is Congressman Marcel Dixon's Reparations Day. It's
and
official.
on that day,
It's
and on that
official.
day, I'm going to be officially unveiling the plan. You already know my platform, but I'm going to officially unveil my plan to make reparations happen when y'all help get me to Congress.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Sandra Del Reed 360, I see you, family. Thank you for joining the line. I have placed Marcel's link for you to donate, and donate. This brother needs money, and most money. Now, the beauty of it is that we can make this message go viral through all of our social media spaces to turn out the vote for him. But more than anything, he needs those Benjamins. He needs those large ones. Y'all need to come through. What's up, Najee? I see you, fam. Thank you for joining the line. Listen, can you please share with them why the money is so important?
So I'm in a rural district. A lot of people like to keep talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, which is kind of offensive because if you look into her record, she was not really truly grassroots. I mean, she was a college educated lawyer for the most part. But anyway, irrespective of that, she was in New York City, a very urban, densely populated metropolis. I am in a huge rural district. And you can't walk down the street and necessarily hand out flyers here. You can go to Main Street, and that's what we've been doing. But finding people here and getting access to people is difficult. Every area has its own avenues of reaching people. And add to that, I work 60 hours a week. Matter of fact, I got off of work, took a nap, woke up, got on a call with the South Carolina Black Democratic Caucus, and now I'm here with you. So most of the outreach I do with voters include having venues where I can do meet and greet, town halls, radio advertisements, television advertisements, which, every time, they didn't see me on TV several times. Every time I'm on television, my aunts call me squealing with joy. And my poor mother cries. And she's like, oh my God, what are you getting yourself into? But every time my students come up and see me, I have to get on the radio, do advertisement and newspaper advertisements. That's how you reach people in rural areas. Older people, they read the newspapers. Younger voters on social media, which fortunately is free. But I still have to have material that I can advertise to them. And of course, television reaches everyone of all ages, but those things cost. And now that candidates have filed, and we are now officially in campaign season, the rates have increased. So I also need to pay my treasurer. So money really goes to helping me pay people who work for me, paying for services I use, whether it's a flyer, advertising, or marketing, as people are going to very see soon on my Twitter page, and also keeping my name out there because we have short memories. if people only see my name once or twice, or they go more than 2 weeks without seeing or hearing my name, they forget. And we can't let them forget, because my opponent, the current office holder, he can outspend me easily. But what he can't do is stop me. He can't cover all of the blocks on television. So as long as I keep his record out there and let people know they have another option, an actually good option, the best option, that will be crucial to me getting to Congress.
Absolutely. And can you share with my viewers about the nefariousness happening right now, where there are more Democrats on that ticket or trying to get on that ticket down there? Because apparently you were posing a serious threat to Clyburn. Yes. Now they're actually trying to make a way for his victory by trying to outmoney you with other pretenders in this race. You can say it better than me.
I find it quite strange that this man has not had a primary, Democratic primary, since 2002, when I graduated from high school. Now, all of a sudden, he has not one, but two. And he has another black gentleman, Gullah Geechee as am I, in the county, Carleton County, where Harriet Tubman went and freed hundreds and hundreds of people that were enslaved near the town of Walterboro by the Columbia River. He has a gentleman from there who's challenging him. So all of a sudden, challengers are just crawling out the woodwork to challenge him, where he has gone pretty much unchallenged outside of a few of the white men that challenged him on a Republican ticket for decades. Now all of a sudden, he's getting challenges left and right. You know what? If it looks like a duck, quack like a duck, walks like a duck, in the water like a duck, then damn it, it's a duck. So I find that quite strange. I said, and I have the screenshots if anybody wants to challenge me. I said I am predicting that he would try to flood the ballot. Now, I can't definitively say he is doing that, but I can't definitively say he is not doing that. And it's just strange. I don't believe in coincidences that you go on without being challenged. One time you didn't even have a Republican challenger. Now you have two Republican challengers, two Democratic challengers. Give me a break.
Yes, because he's feeling that Marcel Dixon smoke. And the fact that you're bringing that reparations agenda is posing a real threat to his seat, especially alongside his record. Can you share with my viewers, because we had a great discussion about your abortion ban and how we need to really stress to our supporters nationwide how this new slogan that we kind of crafted so that people can understand it's not as much about banning abortion as much as it is about strong family and economics for free people. Can you please share a little bit about that so people can get clear about your position?
Thank you for that. So I never, ever proposed banning abortion. I said on my platform from the beginning that in certain circumstances, exceptional circumstances, it may very well be necessary. What I've always said, and I will always stick to, is that when it comes to the Black American community, but white Americans as well, and people of Hispanic ethnicity, those are the ones for whom I have the most research. The majority of people, but overwhelmingly Black women, say it is because of economic hardships that they get abortions, meaning that most Black women get abortions not because they want to. Most Black women want to give birth to their son or daughter, but they feel they are not economically situated well enough to take care of another child. Now, we have to ask ourselves the questions. Why is it that Black women, who are the most impoverished group demographic in the United States of America, why is that the case? We all know why. It's because Black American women, freedmen women, as Black American men, freedmen men, were denied, never received the wealth that we should have inherited from our ancestors. And after that, as if that was not enough, we went through state-sanctioned terrorism, whether it be vagrancy laws, whether it be death towards prison, whether it be Jim Crow, redlining, the destruction of Black Wall Street, whether it be prosperous towns that the Federal Housing Authority put railroads or highways through so they could destroy, whether it be the collapse of the Freedmen's Bank that was sabotaged deliberately and the betrayal of Reconstruction. It is because of the government that we are in this precarious situation. And now that same government, seeing the data since the 1970s when abortion was first made legal, they hear Black women saying it's because of poverty. We have the highest abortion rates by far in the nation. Instead of putting forth policies to deal with that poverty, they instead say, well, we're going to give y'all good infrastructure. We're not going to give y'all good schools. We're not going to give y'all quality, affordable housing. We're not going to give y'all well-paying jobs. We're not going to give y'all healthcare facilities. We're going to give you abortion clinics. And over 80% of abortion clinics are located in Black neighborhoods where otherwise we don't have any other resources. So it was never as much as an abortion ban as it's saying that we are going to end up aborting ourselves into extinction. And I feel outside of that, that once a child has a heartbeat and cerebral activity, that is a living human being. But my main point, and I like how we discussed this, was that we need to substitute abortion with strong, vigorous economic and family support for all families, but especially Black American families. So instead of locking us in the room, like we in some episode of the Hunger Games and saying either you kill each other or eat the poison berries, no, I'm going to allow you to come out that room and bring you into a world filled with resources. Women will have free access to contraceptives. There will be an array of reproductive health, and the Freedmen's Bureau will be returned under my policy. So if Black women are still going through the medical anti-Blackness that they go through now, which is why they are 5 times more likely to die giving birth to a child, something no one ever really talks about. They talk about abortion. What about the fact that most Black women want to have their kids, but die trying to do so? The Freedmen's Bureau will make sure and hold these hospitals accountable for making sure that this mortality gap between Black women and white women is closed. So this will be a new world where Black women have access to contraceptives, PrEP, that means the morning before pill and the morning after pill, and there will be strong family and economic support. So by default, the need for abortion is all but going to disappear, but I'm also going to make sure our Black children are protected, because we cannot look at our Black children, our future, as being an option. No, that is a beautiful Black child that deserves to have a right to live.
I love it. I love the slogan. It is the substitute abortion with strong family and economic support and stability for freedmen. Thank you for that clarification. I love the clarity. I also want to ask you next about how it's possible running on a closed border strategy, as you are, and your stance on abortion. How is that going to be helpful to perhaps garner even some of the white votes? What are your thoughts about that?
Some people, I think even some of our people, we've been in New York City and Los Angeles, and we think the whole world is New York City and Los Angeles. Sorry, not sorry. There's a whole big world outside of New York City and Los Angeles and these quote unquote liberal cities that are so progressive, but they don't mind having only 3% Black population, like in California. Over 50% of the homeless come from that very small Black population. So you're not a progressive, you're a regressive. In South Carolina, the majority of South Carolinians, Black and white, are not for illegal immigration and having people in our country illegally come here and get opportunities that we as Black Americans have fought to have and are still being denied and largely are out of reach for us. Most Black Americans are not for that. Most Black Americans are not for just having people hop over the border when we are the people who have fought for justice the most. And if we're going to be a country of justice, we have to be a country of laws. And you cannot have it both ways. You cannot say we are a country of laws, but at the same time rewarding people for breaking the law. So I have gotten an overwhelmingly positive response when I let people know I am completely anti-illegal immigration, and I am also for reining in, controlling, the amount of people that come here legally as immigrants. Because if you have a house and you have 10 children and you're having a hard time feeding those 10 children, it might not be because you can't do it. Maybe you're just choosing not to do it, as in the case of the United States of America. But be that as it may, you are still not taking care of those 2 children well. How dare you say, I'm going to bring in 10 other children into the house? That's exactly what the United States of America does when you have people, a lot of veterans, by the way, who are living on the streets. Black Americans, we are around 15 to 20% of the population, over 55% of the homeless. We are heading to zero wealth. We built this nation that people want to come into illegally or immigrate to legally, and you have not yet done right by us. But you want to bring in others and make the American dream available to us, when for us it's only been the American nightmare. Not on my watch. And that is something that white Americans support as well. Now, let me be very clear. I know some of these white Americans that support it may not necessarily be people with whom I agree with in other areas, but it doesn't take a person who is a constitutional lawyer to realize that you can't be a nation of laws if you are rewarding people for coming into the country illegally, because they want more opportunities. Yet if I go in the grocery store hungry and I start eating the food without paying for it, I get arrested. You can't do one and not do the other. So that's been going over very well. I need to say this again. South Carolina is not New York City or San Francisco. South Carolina, especially my district, is one where people are largely against illegal immigration and for control levels of legal immigration. And what I'm saying is not new. There have been people before. I see someone's mentioning Barbara Jordan. She represented Texas and some very majority black areas of Texas with some rural areas. She was speaking the same language. Only the media is trying to convince black Americans that somehow immigration is an issue we should go marching for, while we have no wealth. We've lost 14 million of the 50 million acres of rural land we used to own, and our situation is becoming more and more dire by the day. That's a media propagated myth.
Amen to that. Speaking of which, I wanted to pivot to Hampton University. And you tell me at any point if I bring up a storyline that you haven't yet explored, we can move on, because I have many that I want to get your perspective on. But Hampton University,
that infuriates me. I heard, but yes, please do. That infuriates me though.
Well, I do want to hear your perspective, because I've already done the broadcast where we discussed how the president of Hampton University has the unmitigated gall to be offering free room, board, and tuition to Ukrainians who, by and large, are held up by neo-Nazis, especially their armies. Okay.
Right.
And this is what the country, the USA, that we built, okay, our ancestors built with their lives, has given about 15 billion of our reparations to Ukraine, and they've treated the Africans over there like lower than well poop, okay, not allowing them to leave and insisting that they help to fight with the neo-Nazis, a war that's actually being fought on behalf of the US and NATO. Okay. And so now you've got this president who earns about $200,000 a year, who's been down there for I guess about 30 years now. He's been the president. I think his name is Harvey, if my memory serves me. I've got so many news items running through my head, I can't quite land on his name. But anywho, he has the unmitigated gall to be welcoming Ukrainians who have never done a thing for freedmen.
Nope.
Into a university where our freed young adults are paying upward of maybe $50,000 a year just to attend that school between tuition, room, and board. He's literally giving it free to about 100 Ukrainians. And to me, that's understated. Okay. He's claiming that it's just for the summer, but I believe it's all understated. And I believe that his palms are being greased on his way out, of which the students have protested and managed to successfully get him to step down for all of the nefariousness. You can catch all of that on the prior broadcast as I unpack that particular news line. But I wanted to hear from you about the Dixon, the Marcel Dixon spin on your thoughts as to how atrocious it is that we don't get to educate freed people on these campuses, By and large, they are dominated by white, Hispanic, and African and Caribbean
Yeah.
people who, by and large, get all these breaks on our affirmative action and how it no longer serves us and how atrocious this act truly is, how heinous it is that our children, free children, who are on the bottom economically, don't get these same advantages at our very own historically Black colleges and universities designed to level the playing field for us educationally. Could you speak on it?
The disrespect infuriates me. You know what? I have to watch my words carefully because I never want to come off as seem like I'm encouraging violence or anything like that. But when I say the disrespect infuriates me, the lack of integrity, the lack, they say the first rule of nature is self-preservation. That's what they say, right? Well, a lot of our people have been breaking that law since they've been here on this here earth. You have a lot out of all of homeless students, Black children are like 60%, 60 to 69%, at least here in the South Carolina and Georgia region. Okay. And where are the people offering them free room, free board, free education? Nothing. And to offer people, refugees from a country that is rampant with Nazism. And before this quote unquote invasion from Russia, the Western media was largely calling Ukraine out for having a military that was rampant with Nazis. And yet those are the people to whom you want to offer free room and board, which I am pretty sure on that campus, because Black college students are the most likely to drop out of school because they have the least amount of capital than any demographic. But the people you want to offer help to are from a European country over 5,000 miles away, that during the George Floyd protests, I know this is not an indictment of everyone in that country, but unveiled a banner saying free Derek Chauvin, who murdered, suffocated the life out of George Floyd. Not only that, this country has literally had in the daytime, in broad daylight, with cheers from onlookers, Nazis demonstrating in the streets without much condemnation. If that was not enough, you already mentioned it. Look how they're treating these men and women and children from these various African nations there. Now, I know we may have our issues with Pan-Africanism, and I'm not trying to speak to that. But if they are just seeing those people as Black people, I'm sure if you and I were there, we will more than likely be treated the same way.
Oh, yes.
So not only are you going out on a limb for these people who have never stood with us, you're going out on a limb for people from a country that has rampant with Nazism and who right now, as we speak, in the midst of being invaded, are being hostile, brutal to its Black residents. Who on earth will extend a helping hand to them when you got people right there on your very same campus that needs your help? That is why, Angela, it is important for people like me, and I know that might sound a little arrogant,
no,
but I'm going to say it, for
Speak
people
on
like
it.
me and for people like you to get into positions of power, because if not, coons and sellouts will be the ones in positions of power as they are now. You see, the generation, the Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X and Fannie Lou Hamer, those people were largely assassinated or they died quite young. The ones who got into leadership positions thereafter, a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them, turned out to show themselves as agents, sellouts, people who would be easily compromised and who could be bought. We are still dealing with the remnants of the sellouts and agents and coons from that generation. So when I see things like this, it disgusts me, but it does not surprise me. Thank goodness our generation has now arisen to bring back this reparations movement, this freedmen movement, as some has called it. And now we have to bring this from the social media spaces. We have to bring this from organizing to bringing this into the government, federally and locally, because we have to be the ones in positions of power so we could do things for our people. Because right now, the people who look like us, who are supposed to advocate for us, are advocating for everyone but us. And when we demand things for us, they are openly hostile to us.
Yes, speak on it, Congressman Dixon.
So I'm
we
disgusted,
are
but
going
not
to be
surprised.
we are so blessed to get you into office. Family, please, thank you. I want to thank Dee. That's all I can see. You said stay on the neck. I sent a cash app. Family, and I thank you for the cash app, but everything you do with the cash app today is going to Congressman Dixon for his campaign. We need to get him into office. And I also put his website in the chat over here in ScrewTube. Okay, so for those of you who need to see the notes, we're over here on ScrewTube. I can't see you on Facebook. I can't see you Twitter, but it's marcelforcongress.com. So either way, tonight's broadcast and every time Mr. Dixon appears on my broadcast, anything that you guys give to me, give to TRP, I'm going to transfer to Mr. Dixon's campaign. I thank you so much. He says he sent another one then. Oh, God bless you real good.
Thank y'all.
Thank you so much. Yes, family, it is imperative. We have no friends. We've got to get the lights of Congressman Marcel Dixon into office. It is imperative that if we cannot vote for him, that we show him our love and support through donations. Put it on recurring payment. No donation or gift is too small or too large.
Exactly.
He needs tons of money because, like you mentioned prior at the top of the show, some of you may just be joining. The way he's got to approach his rural markets is very different.
Right.
He can't even do social media campaigns. This brother drove to a whole nother town just so he wouldn't, well, some of the buffering is happening now, but he was buffering in his home. It's so rural. Now he drove to another town just to be able to come to us live without a lot of the buffering. It's been mitigated. It just happened just now. I'm telling you what this brother is going through, and I'm telling you he is one of the strongest reparationist candidates we've got, and we need to show our love and support, and prayerfully we can have him back here often, and you guys can help me make this go viral. You know I'm being shadow banned, so I need everybody here to share and tell their people to share, and so on and so forth. This is our saving grace. The ancestors have sent the ram in the bush. His name is Greg Marcel Dixon. Let's see here. I see Bobby Generic. Let's go. Let's see. I'm going to flash some of this love. Miss Powell says, we must stay on the necks of all of them. D said he sent some more love in the Cash App. That's coming to you, Marcel.
Thank you so much, D.
Absolutely. And Shauna Kim is in the building. DJ Segwan, I see you, family. Let's see who else is up in here. Y'all coming. Y'all got a little late, and I'm not going to keep them. Satra Delry 360, I see you. Cosetta Oslar, Najee Hall. I got to give my co-host love. Okay, let's see. I think
may I say something real quick, Angela, too?
Yes, please.
And I think I'm pretty much shadow banned too, because I'm trying to put a video clip through, and for some reason Twitter's not letting it go through. But y'all go see it. Stay tuned on my Twitter account, social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. But the thing that really frightens me, and I don't do fair tactics, but this is the God's honest truth. Now, you already know that the current office holder knows about me, and I can tell he's feeling the pressure, because now he's doing little bullet points of all the things he's done for us, which ain't nothing, because all the stuff you've done for us, we're still the sixth poorest in net worth out of 435 districts total. We only got 5 more slots to go before we're the poorest in the United States of America. What a distinction to have. But
out
he
of
is
how many
still
districts? Out of how many districts?
435. 435. How do you go from 435 to the 6th poorest, almost to the poorest United States of America, but you go around, you get all this praise? With that being said, though, Angela, he is still refusing, y'all, to specify a black agenda. He is the whip. You know what the whip does? The whip sets the legislative agenda for their party, and they whip up the votes to get a policy passed. He can easily do a black agenda. He did it for the Catawba Native Americans used to enslave us. He just got them more land. He even wrote the bill himself. He is refusing. He's doubling and tripling down on not doing anything for Black Americans, for freedmen, even though South Carolina has close to 2 million Black Americans. He is doubling down on not doing anything for us. Yo, if this does not show, even with all this pressure, if I lose, if Tamara loses, this is going to just be more of the same, because even with all this pressure, they are still doubling down or ignoring us.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. They have given us their blue asses to kiss.
Yes,
and
they have.
In the end, I'll share my Freedmen voter strategy that we must show up in record number like we did for Barack Obama. We must show up in record numbers and invoke a closed border strategy, because immigration is our most imminent threat. And is with the exception of Marcel, Dixon, and Tamara Johnson-Shealy, who are running on a reparations platform. And don't believe the new grift from Nina Turner, because unless you're running with reparations out front, you're grifting off of reparations. And so you can see by her last campaign, I wouldn't even contribute to her the last time she was running, because she refused to put reparations on her platform. So folks can pay lip service to it all day long. I don't give a damn if you're paying lip service. I want to see your actions. And this brother right here has put his mouth, he has put his mouth on reparations. He's not let it go. He has put his money where his mouth is. He's put his livelihood where reparations is. He's putting everything on this after working a 60-hour work week. So if you don't go hard in the paint for reparations and for freedmen, you're a grifter. And we've done other broadcasts sharing with you about how they're grifting off of HR 40. It's a nothing burger. Okay.
Yes.
While we're on that, it's a good time to segue since I raised that. Have you heard about this secret meeting going on tomorrow at 2:00 to talk about eligibility before the vote coming up on the 29th?
Is that California?
This is California Reparations Task Force. Now, a little birdie told me this, so I'm going say allegedly here, but it's mighty funny that I got this from an inside source. Fam, we have seen an email circulating sent out by the communications firm hired by the California Task Force. They are calling an urgent community meeting to discuss the eligibility question for the March 29th meeting. Let me take a breath and share how Dr. Shirley Weber, who is the state secretary out here, okay? She has already said, this is her bill that she authored. She has already said it's exclusively for freedmen.
Right. I saw that part.
Huh?
I saw that part where she says for people who are descendants of American slaves, freedmen, right?
Yes, she made that plain that is who she intended this bill for. Okay? And we had Senator Bradford and Representative Joan Sawyer, I think that's how it's said, just throw a wrench in the vote last month on eligibility after Dr. Shirley Weber, the Secretary of State, said it's her bill, she authored it, it's exclusively for freedmen, and Chairman Inskeep, okay, got on there and said, if you make this about race, you will go the way of the farmers, pretty much, who got all these billions set aside as a part
and now it's being held up in courts, right?
Now it's being held up in courts because white folks have sued for discrimination.
And Hispanics too, and white Hispanics did too. They were in on it too.
Yes, they were. Even though I think it was about $4.6 billion that was set aside for the black farmers. It included immigrants too.
Which it should not have. Which it should not have, right?
It should not have.
Exactly.
But even greater, it should have been lineage based.
Exactly.
And so because they made it race based, now it's held up and they're getting foreclosure notices from the agriculture department. You see, that's the same chicanery the major banks played on black folks during Barack Obama when he chose to bail out Wall Street and the banks instead of Main Street, and did not put regulations and audits on those banks to guarantee black folks kept their homes.
Say right. How about saying the same thing he did with the housing industry, right? Same thing.
Now, let me explain what they were doing. You would file for a loan modification and you would stop making payments, right? They would let you wait 2.5 years, family, before addressing it and then try to foreclose on your property. That's exactly what the Agriculture Department is doing to the Black farmers. So Chairman Minsky had already said, if you go the way of race, this will be trapped in the courts until death do you part. I mean, it's never going to happen. It's easy to get it shot down. And so back to what I was sharing, family, and why we need you in this action item. So they're calling on this meeting. Now, you talk about the communications firm that was hired by the California task force. This is a communications firm, family, that manages the anchor orgs, of which CJEC is one of the more prominent ones, okay? They're sitting up here doing this secret meeting, calling an urgent community meeting to discuss the eligibility question that has already been decided on, that was delayed a whole nother month. Now they're meeting in secret. So the question was, have any of your orgs received this letter? If you've not received it, then we suspect that this is being sent selectively to Pan-African leaning organizations and individuals. The strategy is to probably mobilize them to flood the upcoming task force meeting with all Black eligibility comments. Below is the RSVP survey that they are sending to those who respond. We are sure they will use these results of this survey as evidence to the task force that all Blacks is the prevailing opinion of the attendance and responses as one-sided as they hope. Let's make sure that does not happen. We need to get all freedmen on deck and on this call. This is a maneuver, an underhanded strategy. And let me tell you how I know this to be factual. I can't share with you my source, but let me tell you how I know this to be true. I remember the last task force hearing on eligibility when we were about to put it to a vote. Dr. Cheryl Grills, who sits on the board of NARC, okay? She said out of her own mouth that, hey, we haven't reached enough people to weigh in on eligibility. Not enough people know about this. So do you see how her being over the anchor orgs tied to that communications firm, how this is a problem and a very imminent threat to the vote coming down on the 29th. So what I've done for us here, family, since we were on the subject of HR 40, this came to mind. I put as the very first item in the chat, the Google link for this meeting tomorrow at 2:00. I want you to do two things for me. When they ask you what organization you rep, put self. And when they ask you, who do you believe reparations is for, simply say Black American descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. I want you to click on that link and sign up for this meeting. So when they do this secret meeting and this private vote, that we will be counted. Okay. And that's part one. Part two is next week, Wednesday, the 29th. I need you to send me a Gmail to the repperspect@gmail.com so that I can send you the link to be live with us at the top of the call to talk on eligibility. You get 3 minutes to speak on eligibility because that's going to be put to a vote. I want us to flood the zone with those phone calls in that first hour. Did you have anything to say to that, Marcel? Oh, where'd he go? Oh, Lord.
No, it's okay.
I
It's
don't know
just
how he got
disgusting.
dropped out of the stream. I was reading from another.
No, my internet dropped actually. I had to log back in. Clyburn connection here. So and I'm in town right now, so this is where the strongest. But it's just a shame how we have to fight external and internal factors. Like, how can you see what we have been through as freedmen? This is like saying, a person inherits a genetic condition from their parents. Let's say, like my brother, asthma and allergies, they run in my family. So my second oldest brother and my sister, they have really bad asthma. Okay. And when they were younger, they used to have to do the saline treatment. This is almost like saying you go into a building and you have the saline treatment there, and you have people who have no respiratory issues, and you give them the saline treatment while the people who have asthma are over there struggling to breathe. That's dumb. You only are going to give restitution and repair to the people to whom damage has been done. I'm here struggling to breathe, and you're going to the person who's breathing just fine. These other groups did not go through the harms and did not inherit the trauma and the poverty and the damage that have been inflicted upon Black Americans. And to try to sabotage what is due to us just to force your ideology upon us, that is unforgivable.
It is unforgivable and
I mean, it's unforgivable. Unforgivable.
I absolutely agree. I concur. I feel like this about it. Capitalism requires a bottom caste, and Black immigrants in particular have gotten very comfortable with that being us. I want you to understand that they don't let Black immigrants in particular into the country unless they've got money. Okay? As you bore witness to how they whipped on the poor Haitians and are now allowing the Ukrainians to flood the Mexican border. Okay. You could just open up your third eye and see the puckery going on. So because capitalism requires a bottom caste, you have quite a few Black immigrants, not all, that are doing the bidding of our white oppressors to keep us tethered to the bottom. And to me, their biggest fear is once we get repaired in the quadrillions of which we are owed over several lifetimes, okay, that they are going to be the one to have to trade places. Well, I don't really give a damn about who has to trade places, but I believe one or two things is happening here. Either they want to come up on our repair, like that of class-based policies, which don't fix race. You know how white folks are screaming to have their student loan debt erased when their median income is around $200K in this country, as compared to Asians who are around $350K, as compared to Freedmen's national median income of $41,000 or less. Okay, so they're screaming to have their student loans erased, right? And so that way, it's just another white wealth transfer. That's the same thing that happens when you give Black immigrants who came here after the 65 Immigration Act, by and large, we were their reparations. Their ancestors weren't the shoes. As a matter of fact, many of the Africans descend from slave traders. And so, as far as I'm concerned, we are your reparations. So one or two things they want: to get the come up, to pad what they got even more so, as they are already 1,000 times more wealthy in this country than we are, and or they wanted to fail so that we will remain on the bottom. Either way, guess who stays on the bottom? Whether they get the reparations or whether they are rich and are getting reparations, Freedmen will eat this L and remain on the bottom. So thank you for weighing in on that. I want to talk about more nothing burgers. Have you seen the Crown Act? Do you know anything about the Crown Act?
I've seen the Crown Act, and the Congressional Black Caucus are going around acting as a, you see, this is why we're necessary. First of all, if it took you all this time just to get us some legislation to outlaw, quote unquote, hair discrimination, that's pathetic. And I also want to say, though, I want to call out a double standard here. They are saying that the Crown Act is why they're necessary. So, but they notice now, you mentioned HR 40, which, like you said, they like to use. It's really a big nothing burger. That's exactly what it is. The documentation for Freedmen and the terrorism we've been through is probably the most extensive in this world's history. HR 40 has been in Congress since the 1980s. The Democrats have had control over Congress for many, many years, since the 1980s to now, and they've never once passed it. So don't try to give us some lowball Crown Act to make it seem like you're doing something for us, because the last time I checked, even though I am all for making sure that people are held accountable for any sort of discrimination against Black Americans, I can't pay bills with my hair. That's not going to give me back the welfare laws, the land we laws, stop us being killed by crooked police, and more. So yes, I'm very familiar with it.
And thank you for weighing in. These are my issues with the Crown Act. How do you implement it? How in the world do you Listen, they're talking about blacks being discriminated against during the interview process. Well,
It's very hard to come out. Exactly.
Out here, most of the people have to know Spanish just to get an interview.
Right.
So what the hell point are you talking about? Furthermore, out here, even I myself experienced a major layoff of blackness, anti-blackness within Wells Fargo Bank, which we're going to talk about next, where they replaced all of the blacks, predominantly in the banks out here in California, from the teller all the way through upper level management. Because of why? They're anti-black hate and racism, and they replaced us with immigrants. So what is the point in this nothing burger of an act if we A, have to speak Spanish just to get a job interview, and B, are not being hired because we don't have social capital at the hiring tables? What the hell difference does a hair make, and how do you measure that? How do you measure that they did not hire me because I went in there with my braids or with my afro?
And here's another thing I want to say. People already don't believe us when we say we are discriminated against when it comes to housing, when it comes to getting into schools and colleges, when it comes to getting loan, even though the data is overwhelming. And the thing is, when it comes to workplace discrimination, the burden of proof is on the person who alleges that they have been discriminated against. And the burden of proof is an extremely high bar because personnel records are very confidential and they're hard to get access. And not just that, a lot of times these backroom door conversations are not documented. They're not written. They're not recorded. Remember when the email, I forgot the name of the company. I don't want to say the wrong company. One of those movie production companies out there in California, their email was hacked. And remember, it revealed all these anti-black emails. They said derogatory things about Will Smith and other black actors and actresses. Remember, that was like 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even longer than that, maybe like a decade ago. But imagine if that hack had never occurred. Those type of conversations happen all the time. I know my mother, when she was a store manager, she said she was introduced to a whole new world of discrimination. Conversations that she would never have been privy to. And they had became so accustomed to having them, they will often forget that her, with her black self, was right there in the room with them. So you're right, the burden of proof is very, very hard to measure. I think what they're saying is you can't have policies saying you can't have afros and braids, but I don't think very few companies, if any, I do not believe will ever be that brazen to just come flat out and say it. Like they took the no Negro need apply signs down from the windows and just made sure to have a secret meeting saying that's going to be the agenda. We're going to stick to it. And if it's one thing, like Tariq Nasheed says, they know how to stay on code when it comes to being against us real quick.
Absolutely the gospel truth. You said
that's why, and you bring up a very good point. I've always been against, unless it is a job which pertains to speaking foreign languages, you should not say on there Spanish speaking preferred or any other language unless that job is a language dealing with translations or interpretation or something of that matter, because that right there is discriminatory. I went to the lowest performing school district in the state of South Carolina. Okay, and we had a Spanish teacher, but there were sometimes, most of the time, we had a substitute before we got one. We didn't have a health teacher for most of my time in high school. Now compare that with a student who moves here, knows Spanish, and they get government money from the Civil Rights Department, Title III, which from the Civil Rights Department, which would not exist and not for our people, to help them learn English. They get to learn English and they know Spanish. Now, I speak Spanish, but I would never speak it as well as a native speaks it. But what about the many Black American children out there who have never had an opportunity to take a foreign language class? Okay, it's very difficult. It takes a lot of time and effort. And a lot of schools don't even offer our children sometimes the math and reading subjects that they're required to have, let alone a foreign language. How are they going to be able to compete in a market that says Spanish speaking preferred, Chinese speaking preferred? That's not fair. You're punishing them for circumstances that were outside of their control. This is why we need federal class protection as freedmen.
Yes, we
Okay?
do.
This is why we need that. So when we come through, because even Lyndon B. Johnson, who was by all means an account an anti-black bigot, I mean, but you know what? He got the civil rights legislation passed, which was not what it should have been, because it should have just been for us. Even Ann Coulter says that we were the ones who went through the harm. We were the ones who put our bodies and lives on the lives and our livelihoods to go through it. And yet when we came out and had that legislation, somehow the white women who were out there being anti-black somehow became recipients of what we fought for. How's that when they were ones oppressing us along with their white brothers and husbands and sons? Okay? But if we had federal class protection status, we walk through the door as freemen, and right away, we have opportunities available to us. For all the centuries, opportunities were kept from us, because what we're dealing with now is when the civil rights legislation was passed, that didn't do anything to undo the centuries and centuries of anti-black bigots who only got their positions because black Americans were violently and legislatively kept from entering these fields. Those people were in positions discriminating against us. They were the ones putting no Negro need apply at the window. Now their grandsons and great-grandsons and daughters are there. They are still in power. So we need to have a way in. Affirmative action should have been for us. Instead, it's only given 6 to 7 million white women well-paying jobs. That should go to us. So when we get our federal class protection, legislation will be specifically for us and none of these other groups. White women who have historically been the oppressors, only tied with white men. And if you're a white person, you're listening and you get offended, that means you're an anti-black bigot. Because if it don't apply, let it fly. And if you're feeling some kind of way, then good, because you are a bigot. And yes, I am talking about you. Okay? And right. And I mean every word of that. And
that goes for all of them. That goes for black immigrants too.
I'm gonna say black immigrants, Latinos, all of you. All of you come in and you hijack legislation that should be for us. Speaking of the Latinos, today someone asked me, what am I going to do for the Latino population? Someone had the audacity to ask me that. I said, have we not done enough for them? I said, have we not done enough? I said, first of all, the only reason we talk about white women. Let's talk about the Latinos who like to talk about black and brown when they benefits them. But when the black people are out there fighting for our rights, going through poverty and going through all sorts of horrors, they go and turn white again and put the pictures of their black abuela back in the photo album and throw it back under the bed. Before the Civil Rights Legislation, during the Civil Rights Act, those same Latinos were going to court trying to be federally classified as white. While we were out there fighting for civil rights, they were in courts fighting to be classified as white. That's the history of Latinos. Several generals of the Confederate Army and several people who support the Confederacy were white, anti-black Latinos. What are we going to do for them? The question is, what have we not done for them? They come here and they usually go to black communities. They go to public schools on our tax dollars. They're able to get assistance that they would not qualify for if not for us fighting against Jim Crow laws and stopping separate but equal, which was never the case in the United States of America. They go to hospitals on our tax dollars, okay? And they're doing jobs in industries that we kept afloat. Before they come along in construction and domestic labor and cooks, black Americans were doing those things for centuries. We made those industries what they are. I can go on. When they talk about giving reparations or any sort of legislation that is really supposed to be for black Americans to benefit, they always want to add and brown, black and brown. So we do enough for them. I said, no. I said, the only thing I'm going to do in regards to the Latino population is ask them what are they going to do to support reparations for black Americans freedmen. That's all I'm going to do for them. But Andra, it's 10 o'clock, so I have to run, but I love being
Oh,
here.
man.
I know I love being here, but I'm going to come back because that
I think
commercial
so.
Twitter is not letting me put it up on Twitter. You know, I'm not
Hey.
surprised. But I'm
Okay.
going to get up and I'm going to text you in case it comes up while you're on air. Let people know to look for it. But it's going to be playing soon because one way or another, I'm going to get it on there.
Well, I love you so much. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for
same
giving
to
us
you.
your time, for
And
driving and traveling. I promise we'll do it a little earlier the
no,
next
it's
time
fine.
you come on, so you don't have to be out so late. We so
No, it's
appreciate you.
fine. It's fine. It's a little 24/7 gas station here and a Waffle House over there. So people all over the place. But thank you.
We love you so much, and we are
I
going
love
to be
y'all
supporting
too.
your campaign.
And it's
Take
just
care,
getting started.
family.
All right, y'all. Take care.
Peace. All right, y'all. Well, y'all got to finish with me now. So I did want to just jump into a couple of things as he was speaking. I just started pulling up articles about the Latinos out here since he was on that subject. We have no friends, family. And I just wanted you guys to know that out here, it was the worst. It was the worst how the Latinos literally ganged up on blacks out here. Let's see here. Blacks versus Brown. This is the Atlantic. This is from 92. Let me pull this up. Behind the LA riot lay a grim economic competition between Latinos and African Americans, which is intensifying and which poses a stern challenge to U.S. domestic and foreign policy, as well as to sentimental cultural attitudes about immigration. So what you have to understand, family, is that this is the weaponization of immigration against freedmen to keep us tethered to the bottom as the anchor of this country's capitalism, both with 3 Ks. Okay. So they knew this kind of stuff was going on. It was atrocious out here. So during the 1980s, according to the census figures released last May, this is 92, the United States admitted 8.6 million immigrants. Now, let me tell you how many immigrants there are now. Just give me a second. I want to research this. Welcome to the live. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and know that all of your love tonight in the Cash App is going directly to Congressman Marcel Dixon's campaign. So let's see how many immigrants are in the U.S. 2022. Of course, it wants to go slow and buffer and carry on, even though I'm attached to the Ethernet. How many immigrants are in the U.S.? How many immigrants does the U.S. know? See? Okay, the foreign-born, this is as of February 23 of this year. The foreign-born population hits a record 46.6 million in January. Now add about another 20 million for illegals. And you're looking at about, what, 70 million of them? 46.6, 20, 66 million? So you have to understand how this is working, family, and why I keep stressing that we must show up to the polls in Obama-style numbers to defeat this, okay? Because you can trust and believe a recent poll shows that the majority of the Hispanics, Latinos, are now Democrat. Why is that? Because they're giving away our reparations and protections to them. They're making them white to eliminate and extinct us, as Mr. Dixon said, to as few in number as the Indians, if we don't really get active. So a lot of you don't know this history about what happened with the Blacks and Latinos. So I want to just give you a little bit before I move on to the next. About Wells Fargo. I swear I don't feel like I got through all my topics. I didn't get through all my topics. Let's just keep it a buck with Mr. Dixon, but we got in some good stuff. Okay, so that was 8.6 million. You're now looking at about 66 million, including illegals. It's by design. In the context of U.S. immigration history, this is a staggering number, more than in any decade since 1900 to 1910. Worldwide, half the decade's immigrants had made the U.S. their destination. Of them, 11% more than 750,000 further specified their choice as where? Los Angeles. By the end of the decade, 40% of all Angelinos were foreign born. Okay, that's now over 50%, family. 49.9% spoke a language other than English at home. 35.3% spoke Spanish. This is a city where 2 weeks before those figures were released, the most violent urban riot in American history broke out. 51 people were killed and property worth $750 million or more was lost. Though the occasion for the riot was the acquittal of 4 white policemen on charges of assaulting a black traffic offender, Latinos as well as African Americans rioted. Why? What was Rodney King to Latinos? Did a race riot once begun degenerate or progress into a bread riot? Was it a vast crime spree as devoid of political content as the looting that followed the 77 blackout in New York City? Of those arrested afterward, of whom more than half were Latino, 40% already had criminal records. Now, me speaking, Donald Trump said this very thing, that the people they are allowing into this country are criminals. Did you hear that? Of those that were arrested, of whom more than half were Latino, 40% already had criminal records, family. And so what they did was unleash this beast, these criminals, into our community, akin to what they're doing today. You know how recent actors have been dying from fentanyl-laced heroin. That's nothing but the Mexican cartel. While Biden leaves our borders open and spends $15 billion to protect the borders of Ukraine, actually for U.S. and NATO interest, because they want to set up artillery along that border and get that gas and oil resources up out that piece. Okay. They're basically funding the neo-Nazis to fight the Russians in the name of oil and other resources. That's really what this is about, as they lie to us, like they always do, like the Dixiecrats they are. Anywho, back to the text. Was the riot a defeat of the police? If it was a hybrid of all these, was it finally an aberration from which, by hard work, America's second largest city could recover? Or was it the annunciation of a new and permanent state of affairs? Okay. I work at the LA Times, writing a column for that newspaper, book, supplement, and unsigned editorials 3 or 4 times a week for its editorial page. On the day after the first night of the riot, one of my colleagues said to me as we left to hunt for a still open restaurant, when the barbarians sacked Rome in 410, the Romans thought it was the end of civilization. You smile, but what followed was the Dark Ages. Think of what follows here as the voice of a worried Roman in front of a television set, watching the Goths at their sack. Okay, I'm not going to read this entire article, but I do want you to understand that Blacks in Los Angeles have caught hell by the Latinos, largely criminal, who have been allowed into this country, akin to, like I just said, Biden is allowing the borders to be open to the Mexican drug cartel. And as you just saw, the star of Wire, I think his name was Michael Williams, 4 of them were arrested because it was caught on camera, them selling him the drugs that were laced with fentanyl. And so this is what we're getting. And instead of giving reparations and protections, the Biden administration chose to give $30 million in crack pipes for our people to die. And guess why that is, family? Use your third eye. Guess why that is? You can't put a heroin or a drug addict to work as a slave in the not so new, as a slave in the private prison industrial complex. So what do you do instead? You kill them and you give them the means to do so. $30 million crack pipes, open the borders to the Mexican drug cartels who are lacing the heroin with fentanyl to kill us. We are now dying disproportionately over the white folks who were opioid addicted, We're now dying disproportionately from drug overdoses. I just want you to be mindful of the administration that 87% of our electorate put into office to keep stressing my point about my Freedmen voter strategy. Because I promise you, they're going to show up to the polls to continue to vote for our reparations to be spent on them, for these borders to stay open, and for them to get the right to vote, which our ancestors bled and died for, to build the wealth that they now eat from, as we are on the bottom cast and in the fight of our lives to prevent from becoming the permanent bottom cast. That's going to be up to us to show up to the polls and be courageous, just akin to our ancestors back in the gap when the repugnant clans would not give them civil rights. They pivoted. They had the wherewithal without social media to move as a block to pivot to the Dixiecrats for civil rights that no longer benefit us, as Dr. Claude Anderson has shared. Anywho, so I want to go to another article about the Wells Fargo. They're being sued again, family. Okay, stay hydrated. Water, agua. Thank you one and all for joining the live. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Know that I'm being shadow banned for doing this kind of work, but the broadcast must go on. So Wells Fargo is at it again. You often have heard me talk about them on my broadcast. You've often heard me talk about their anti-freedmen discrimination and how they replaced us out here with nothing but immigrant workers, from the teller all the way up through into upper level management. Oh, yes. To put in immigrants who, oh, by the way, stole from the customers, right? And then John Stump, the CEO, got a golden parachute of about 146 million. Okay. So yeah, about 5,500 of them were terminated. John Stump got a golden parachute. Anywho, back to the text. So they're sued for discrimination against Black borrowers. This is an article from American Banker on February 22nd, 2022. Let me just see. They want me to log in on this one, family. Let me go back and find one where I don't have to go through so many hoops. That one is, they always want you to, they want you to subscribe. I've got so much crap coming into my, let's see if the Virginia Pilot will allow me. Wells Fargo sued by Black borrower for refinance redlining. It's a class action lawsuit. Let's see if this is the right one. This is March 2022. Okay, so Wells Fargo. Oh, God. And company was sued for discriminating against Black homeowners by relying on a modernized version of redlining that allegedly denied them lower interest rates through refinancing and forced them to pay more for loans. Now, mind you, out here, in order to borrow against the equity so that you can educate your children, so that you can invest in new businesses, invest in real estate, invest in land, you have to be earning around $80,000 just to borrow the money against the equity in your property, which is a lot out here. Okay? It is a lot. There's a lot of equity in the property of California. I would venture to say all over the country, in most major cities anyway. So what they're saying here is that they were denied the lower interest rates through refinancing, forcing them to do what? Pay more for the loan. So let's get this straight. These were people that qualified for the lower interest rates, but they were charged higher rates on that money. The lawsuit filed Friday in federal court in San Francisco as a proposed class action argues that the practices in many cases push Black homeowners into foreclosure by design. Historically, redlining referred to the Federal Housing Administration's refusal to insure mortgages in and near Black neighborhoods and agreements that blocked or restricted the sales of homes to Black Americans. They just get more clever with it, family. Federal data shows that over the last several years, thousands of Black homeowners have been unable to maintain the dream of home ownership because of Wells Fargo's ongoing and discriminatory modern-day redlining practices, according to the complaint. Wells Fargo, of course, had no immediate comment on the suit. The complaint cites previous reporting by Bloomberg News showing that Wells Fargo rejected a disproportionate number of Black homeowners' refinancing applications in 2020 when the pandemic set off a rush to lock in lower rates. Only for whites and immigrants, however. Following the news report, U.S. Senate Banking Committee Chair Sherrod Brown, an Ohio Democrat, I do believe she was the one that the Dixiecrats flooded the zone and defeated Nina Turner. And other Democratic senators this week called for I'm sorry, guys, these lights are hot. And other Democratic senators this week called for regulators to investigate Wells Fargo's treatment of Black homeowners seeking to refinance mortgages during the pandemic. I call it a pandemic that was designed to line the pockets of big pharma, the government, and euthanize our people specifically. Citing data from 8 million refinancing applications from 2020, the lawsuit says Wells Fargo was more likely to approve refinancing applications from white borrowers earning between $0 and $63,000 annually than it was for Black applicants earning between $120,000 and $168,000 annually. Did you hear that? That bears repeating. Citing data from 8 million refinancing applications from 2020, the lawsuit says Wells Fargo was more likely to approve refinancing applications from white borrowers earning between $0 and $63,000 annually than it was for Black applicants earning between $120,000 and $168,000 annually. Quote, Black applicants are further subjected to delays, feigned mistakes, and other obstacles, leading many Black Americans to withdraw their requests for refinancing and leading others to wait indefinitely while Wells Fargo refuses to act upon their applications, according to the complaint. The suit alleges violations of federal fair credit and housing laws, U.S. and California civil rights statutes, as well as California's unfair competition law. Hold on, family. All kind of nonsense. Okay, so that's that article. Yeah, the Virginia pilot let me read a little bit more than the others. I didn't get a chance to get into Mason with Mr. Dixon. Well, prayerfully he'll be back to weigh in, but I want to get into it on this particular broadcast because it's in the storyline. Predominantly Black town ordered to surrender charter after Ford invests in the area. More of the puckery, family. No different than Tulsa. We build it, they steal it. A quiet town with a little over 1,000 residents, Mason, Tennessee has become one of the closest towns to Ford's Blue Oval City, a planned automotive assembly complex that could create 6,000 jobs in the local area. The $5.6 million mega campus in Stanton, Tennessee would be only a 15-minute commute for the residents of Mason, a town that has had its share of financial hardship. Why is that? White folks stole the money. And that's why they're all too willing to let Black folks be in charge. And they are still digging themselves out of those issues caused by who? The white folks. You know, the ones who were left charge of the Freedmen's Bureau Bank and stole everything up out there. You know, the kind that came through and robbed and pillaged and was walking around in the fur coats of the women of Tulsa. Yeah, those same glacier donkey anti-Black, anti-freedmen crackers with 3 Ks. Back to the text. Less than a year later, the predominantly African-American got a letter, African-American, I think there's some typos, family, got a letter in the mail from Nashville. Okay. Oh, let me back up. The massive plant was announced in September of 2021. Less than a year later, the predominantly African Americans got a letter in the mail from Nashville. It was time for Mason to give up its town charter. Without a charter, the town of Mason would be legally erased from the map. Eminent domain. You know how they stole Bruce's Beach out here in LA? All over the country. How we've gone from 100 million acres to maybe 1 million. I don't even know. I got to do the research. Now, Biden gave $4.6 billion to blacks and immigrant farmers, and now the agriculture department is trying to foreclose on them as white folks sue for reverse racism, reverse discrimination. But we got to know Spanish to get job interviews out here. Ooh. Namyeho Renge Kyo. Back to the text. I'm trying not to scream, y'all, but it makes me want to laugh. Anyway, back to the text. In a letter sent to Mason residents, Tennessee Comptroller Mumpower claimed the construction of the new Ford plant in West Tennessee could offer hope to your community, but I worry that if you remain an incorporated town, these opportunities will be missed. New jobs, infrastructure improvements, and economic investments are made in places with a track record of good government. Unfortunately, government is not working in Mason because white folks stole all of the money. People and companies will not invest their money in a poorly run town because white folks stole all their money. And they're having to rebuild from nothing, from their bootless straps, akin to the way we've always done since we were left to our own peril after we fought and won our own emancipation. Mumpower goes on to allege in another letter that Mason's town government has been poorly run for at least 20 years because white folks stole their money. There's been a pattern of fiscal irresponsibility and even instances of fraud. White folks. Mason hasn't submitted its audit on time since 2001, and the comptroller's office hasn't approved the town's budget for 4 years in a row, between 2004 and 2016. Mason's finances were in such disarray, they were deemed unaudible. However, there are two sides to this story. While Mason is majority African-American for more than a century, Mason was run by who? White official glacier donkeys. That changed in 2016 when fraud and mismanagement allegations led to the resignations of nearly all City Hall officials, all of whom were what? Glacier donkeys. Mason's current mayor, vice mayor, and 5 of the 6 aldermen are black, while, of course, now they put the blacks in charge and want to take the charter to make space to co-opt that $5.6 billion coming through by Ford. Stay hydrated. Mason's current mayor, okay, I read that part. While Mumpower claims there's been a pattern of fiscal irresponsibility going back almost 20 years, the comptroller's office continued to approve the town's budget. Then, soon after the new majority African-American government came to lead Mason, was when the comptroller's office decided to stop approving the town's budget. Quote, "This is our home. We were born and raised here. The majority of the town is homegrown people that live here," Vice Mayor Virginia Rivers said. Mumpower is trying to conquer and divide us. It's akin to a hostile takeover, and it's not hard to figure out why. Why here? Why now? When I saw that letter, I was really shocked and unhappy with that letter because a lot of it's not true, and he's trying to split our city, said Rivers. Quote, "We have made big improvements, and the things that are being told are not true. We do still have debt, but we are able to pay our bills. We are not in default. It is clear that the impetus for the order to surrender Mason's charter was investments that could revitalize the area, not Mason's history of financial hardship. It is clear that the impetus for the order to surrender Mason's charter was investments that could revitalize the area, not Mason's history of financial hardship. It was financial hope rather than financial despair that drew eyes from Nashville. What would happen if Mason surrenders his charter? A municipal charter is the basic document that defines the organization, powers, functions, and essential procedures of the city government. The charter is, therefore, the most important legal document of any city. When the charter is repealed, Mason would cease to exist. Mumpower said the state gave the town of Mason two options when it comes to rescinding the charter. The town could be governed by the county or be taken over by the state. If the state takes over Mason's finances, the state of Tennessee would have the authority to approve any expenditure of $100 or more. If Mason decides to be governed by the county, the citizens will remain citizens of the county, but would not be subject to Mason's municipal taxes or regulations. Mason would be subject to annexation by other cities. Areas not near Mason may also become subject to the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction for land use regulation. Being governed by Tipton County is especially concerning to some because Mason is almost 70% African American, many of whom are descended from slaves, while Tipton County, where Mason resides, is majority white and overwhelmingly Republican. Repugnant clan. That's my new word for them. Let me take a beat here. I'm not enforcing or stressing or encouraging a closed border Congress, including Marcel, Dixon, and Tamara Johnson Shealy, because I like repugnant clans. No. I'm doing this to punish the Dixiecrats. And we'll have to do this for several election cycles until they unask the reparations we are long overdue. So this ain't a party thing. This is a freedmen flourishing thing. And as Mr. Dixon mentioned, they are doubling down on the puckery concerning freedmen. Because why is that, family? They believe they have flooded the zone with enough immigration to actually no longer need our vote, because that's what they're gunning for, the neutralization of our vote. And a recent poll said about 70% of them are Democrat now. And about 77% are voting Democrat and about 23% are voting conservative now. So I'm telling you to vote closed border strategy to neutralize our most imminent threat. And I'm telling you, you can't afford to stay home because they're not going to stay home. Okay? Let me come over here. Let me see how much longer is this article. Oh, not much longer. Let me finish it out. I'm going to come and read your comments. Thank you, co-host in the chat. Welcome to the live. Facebook and Twitter too. So, let me jump down. I'll go back to this. Being governed by Tipton County is especially concerning to some because Mason is almost 70% African American, many of whom are descended from slaves, while Tipton County, where Mason resides, is majority white and overwhelmingly Republican. Mason's residents could lose their autonomy in local affairs by being subsumed by a larger town whose larger numbers would dilute the will of Mason's people. Let me take a breath. Now, this is what Be the Power has been pushing. This very formula. Because guess who is pushing this formula of flooding the zone in the South now? The Latinos. I've shared with you, along with Black Diamond, Shirley Huzar, about the Freedman Bank Farm. Remember when the Latinos spoke? And he talked about how his credit union down there in North Carolina is damn near $1 billion in assets. Okay. It took for a bank out of DC to merge with the Broadway Federal here in LA to even get close to $1 billion in assets for one black bank. It took a merger. For what the Latinos in North Carolina have managed to do, because what? They got 100 million of the 9 billion set aside in the name of the Freedmen Bank Forum from this government. And I do believe, if my memory serves me, Harbor Maryland Bank got 71 million. But they got 100 million for his credit union. And so what he promised on that stage, we didn't get a chance to speak. I didn't see no freed people up there speaking on behalf of freedmen and what we could do with 9 billion, a portion of the 9 billion set aside for us, because it wasn't intended for us. Right? We got to jump through a million hoops to find out who got the money, how much they got, and to come up with a way for us to get the money in the pocket of the people. But I digress. He said on the stage at the Freedmen Bank Forum, right, that he is intending to take over the South. So Be the Power had Charles Blow, the author. Oh, what's the name of the book? The Devil You Know. The Devil You Know by Charles Blow. I've got about 100 books sitting over here that I've got to read. Anywho, it's a lot. Be the Power was suggesting that we as black folks come back and take over the South so that we could have power, political power. And that's what's going to be compromised if they have to give up this charter. That's what they're speaking to. Okay. Mason could be a 15-minute drive from high-paying, sustainable jobs that could greatly benefit the local economy. Yet Nashville has used this opportunity to pounce on Mason, to subordinate it to Tipton County, yanking away Mason's right to govern themselves just as they come out of a 20-year financial malaise. So West Tennessee is primed to deliver the workforce and quality of life needed to create the next great American success story with Ford Motor Company and SK Innovations, said Tennessee Governor Bill Lee. This is a watershed moment for Tennesseans as we lead the future of the automotive industry and advanced manufacturing. These are those electric cars that they're going to force you into poverty so you can't afford them with these gas prices. As of yesterday, March 17th, the state of Tennessee is officially taking over the town of Mason. This decision comes after Mason's Board of Mayor and Aldermen voted not to surrender the town's charter. We've got to help, family. We've got to freaking help. Let's see. I'm going to save these other articles. I've got to get ready. My daughter's running in Texas. Pray for her, y'all. It's a big one. Lots of scouts and agents and everybody's going to be there. We need her to get a full ride at a Division I institution. And she is just all too fierce. So keep her lifted, family. Let's go see what my co-host got to say about it. I see you, OLG. Let's see what they got to say. I'm going to pick up. So we ain't here all day. Hi, Kawana Vay. Okay. Thank you, guys. Like I mentioned, like, share, subscribe. Turn on your notifications. Some of you complain you're not receiving your notifications. Know that I'm being shadow banned. Also, check to see if you've been unsubscribed, okay? And subscribe all over again. Y'all have to make this go viral. Okay. Okay. Let's go back down. I'm going to move past. Love my folks. I see you, fam. Yes. Let's unseat Clyburn and support Marcel's campaign. Absolutely. All of your contributions to tonight's broadcast, I'm going to transfer to his campaign. And I thank you, Dee, so far. You've mentioned that you've put not one, but two contributions from you and the very esteemed Shirley Huzar of Urban Game Changers. Thank you so very much. You guys must tune into Shirley's broadcast. She's on ScrewTube as well. Yes. Listen, we have no friends. Nobody's coming. We are the help and the leadership we seek. Like it or love it, we as a tribe are all we've got. So we all need to get busy picking up bricks and throwing them. That's what's got to happen. Don't forget the action item at the top of the thread. Sign in under yourself. Don't tell your organization. And also make sure you put Black American descendants of U.S. chattel slavery when it comes to the question of eligibility for reparations. And prayerfully, you'll get a link. I got a link because I followed the instructions of a very esteemed comrade who's in the building. I won't mention her name, but, listen, we've got to do this and we've got to be in there so that we can outnumber those who are going to be for all Blacks getting the reparations when we've been the reparations to all these immigrants up in here. All 66 million ride on the backs of our ancestors' heinous chattel slave labor. So, anywho, we must. Marcel and Tamara are both our greatest hopes as full-chested reparationists, okay? Please donate. Where is that video when Clyburn said Black people will never get reparations? Yeah, that's Jamie and Fowler. Let me see if I can pull that up. Hold on. That's a good one, Satra. Let's see here. Clyburn tells Fowler no reparations. Okay, here we go. You just gonna make me work, ain't you, girl? You gonna make me work, Satra? Oh, I think Satra is a girl. All right, I hope I got that right. Okay, here's that article. For the longest time, this is from Mogadam. God knows they got a million ads popping up as soon as you go in here. This was written by Ann Brown, November 15, 2021. Where's my thing? For the longest time, House Majority Whip James Clyburn has pushed back against the idea of reparations, except for the Catawba Indians who once owned us. He got them land and casinos tax-free. Okay. Lord have mercy. I cannot with these pop-up ads. Y'all, hold on. I want to read the Black stuff, but my God, every time, okay, every time I try to read, they want everything in the kitchen sink. While he has said he supports proposed H.R. 40 legislation that calls for a committee to study reparations, he has not fully supported the concept of reparations. That's why H.R. 40 is a gift. They don't mind getting behind it for your vote. Come midterms. Don't fall for the biggest grift ever. It's a nothing burger. It lacks specificity and it lacks cash. They want to be paid $20 million to study us, for about 18 months, line their pockets. Into perpetuity, they can do this. We got a whole campaign being rolled out about it. So stay tuned for that. It's coming to the TRP broadcast soon. We need to defeat it. We got it. Foolishly to 197 signatures. That was our work. This thing was collecting dust for 30 years. Before the former ADOS movement got involved, right? We didn't know no better, y'all. We evolved it. We got all this support, all these signatures. It went from like 5 signatures to 197. And then we had to pump the brakes because they would not take any of our edits. unakin to Dr. Shirley Weber, Secretary of State out here in California, who allowed us to put that language in there, which is why we are now fighting for eligibility. Had that language not been in there, this thing would have gone to all blacks. We got those special considerations in there. Yes, we did. Shout out to CJEC for that, putting in that work, and all the grassroots that are under that umbrella. Okay, so he says, let's go back to the text. Grassroots journalist Jamie Fowler retweeted a confrontation that took place in July between himself and Clyburn during a town hall meeting in South Carolina. Fowler pressed the congressman about his attitude towards reparations. While Fowler is not a trained journalist, he has made a name for himself confronting politicians such as Clyburn, Senators Cory Booker, and Elizabeth Warren at events with questions pertinent to Black America. Fowler is a member of ADOS, the American Descendants of Slavery movement, which seeks redress for the injustices visited upon Black people who can trace their ancestry back to slaves on American soil. In his video, Fowler asked Clyburn if he and the Congressional Black Caucus planned on making reparations a national priority. Clyburn replied, "It's always been a national priority." Liar! Clyburn continued speaking about the progress on the proposed reparations legislation, H.R. 40. H.R. 40 is about establishing a commission to do a study on reparations. Have you ever noticed how nobody else requires a study? The $350 million that went to the Asians didn't require a study. The Catawba Indians that just got more land, more tax-free casinos, didn't require a study. The illegal immigrants that come in here and absorb all of our resources never requires a study. The $15 billion that they just sent to the neo-Nazi Ukrainians to fight Russia on their behalf didn't require a study. I could go on and on and on. But this is the grift, which is why we must defeat it. Let's see if I can pull up the video. It'd be fun to incorporate that here. Just a second, fam. Well, I clicked on the, okay, no, just a second. This was rich and it was epic. Hold on, family. Let me go to ScrewTube. Hold on, y'all. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Okay, just a second. Fowler confronts Clyburn, reparations. Did they get rid of it, y'all? They may have gotten rid of that. Hold on, let me put Jamie in. This is crazy. This is crazy. Jamie and Fowler's video is not coming up. Let me take out all the rest to see if Jamie and Fowler comes up. Oh, honey, they are shadow banning us. Okay. Yeah, he gave everybody that work. I want the one on Clyburn specifically, and I can't find it. Y'all, I think they have scrubbed the internet and got that one removed. This is crazy. Yeah. They scrubbed this and got it removed. Let me go to the... Y'all, now I got to find it. You see, this is what happens. Sandra, why'd you do this to me, girl? Let me see here. Jamie Fowler video confronting Clyburn. This is crazy. They got images. I cannot believe they have removed that video from the Great Wide Web. Wow. It's gone, y'all. Let me finish out this article. It's very short. In his video that we can no longer see, Fowler asked Clyburn if he and the Congressional Black Caucus planned on making reparations a national priority. Clyburn replied, "It's always been a national priority." Clyburn continued speaking about the progress on the proposed reparations legislation, H.R. 40. Like I mentioned, it's about establishing a commission to do a study on reparations. So, do you want to pass reparations for American descendants of slavery? Fowler quizzed Clyburn. "I want to pass it for my wife and her descendants," Clyburn said. The intentional neglect of freedmen by the Coon Clyburn, which is why he must go. When Fowler pressed him about ADOS, Clyburn said, "I have no idea who that is." Fowler answered, "American descendants of slavery." Clyburn quipped, "Look at me. Look at my daughter. So she is a descendant of slavery." Oh, did we find it? My confrontation with @Whip Clyburn on the recent poll, including reparations, hashtag ADOS at ADOS. Okay, hold on. It may be. I found it. That's American Descendants of Slavery. Twitter has saved our lives, family. Let me share my screen. Hold on. This is rich. It's embedded in this article by Mogadam. Oh. Why wouldn't it let me do it full screen? Oh, God. Okay, let me make sure y'all can see and hear it because it's small. Okay, there we go.
Fowler. I'm with the ADOS Advocacy Foundation. That's American Descendants of Slavery. Recently, the Congressional Black Caucus did a poll on Twitter in which the poll was, which legislative priority of the Congressional Black Caucus, CBC, do you want to hear more about and remain the most important to you? Voting rights, reparations, infrastructure, or the George Floyd Act. 57% of the almost 5,000 people who voted in that poll, 57%, Congressman, voted for reparations. More than the Voting Rights Act, more than infrastructure, more than the George Floyd Act. With this information, Congressman, do you and the CBC intend on making reparations for ADOS people a national priority?
It's always been a national priority. It's always been a national priority. And one of the things I want you and everybody else to understand, H.R. 40 is about establishing a commission in order to do necessary studies. And for people to tell me you go into legislation, we have hearings, you do what's that, we've had one hearing on H.R. 40, and we want to create a commission to do a study, to find out how to do that. Now let me say this to you because I use this a lot. My late wife great-grandfather was a white guy. They bred him Magnolia. North Charleston now. It's down in Magnolia.
What's that?
So all her grandmother, mother, they all were able to go to every institute that was established for the education of the blacks. On the father's side, they were not allowed to go to Avery. They were not allowed to get an education. So how do we determine how to deal with that one?
Oh, rats. Oh, no, it cut off, y'all. Let's see.
Recently, the Congressional Black Caucus did a poll on Twitter.
Okay, family. Sadly, that's it. Clyburn's current stance on reparations hasn't changed much. In 2020, the South Carolina Democrat, who is also the highest-ranking African-American congressman, said pure reparations would be impossible to implement, according to The Hill. He also said he believed that giving any sort of tax incentives to developers who work in low-income neighborhoods is just smoke and mirrors, the Griot reported. Okay, more grifting, more pretending to do something for us while doing nothing for us specifically. So there you have it. This is why we must get Congressman Marcel Dixon into Congress. We must do that, family, to unseat this kind of intentional neglect of freed people. Okay. Let's read this. Okay. Friedman on deck tomorrow. Yes. Look at the top of the feed. Get that link. Sign up to receive a link for that 2:00 meeting on eligibility. That was crafted in secret. Okay. We must be there to overrun every space dealing with eligibility. Isn't it a damn shame that we don't even have time to fight white folks, so busy fighting Black immigrants and Pan-Africanists? Isn't it a shame that we got to spend most of our time fighting each other for something that they know is due us, for something that we can never get if we were in Africa, we can never get if we're in the Caribbean, but they're insisting on because they've experienced racism after deciding to migrate to this racist country, to escape their Holocaust, to tether themselves to us, to make us bottom cast. You can't make this stuff up. All right, let's scroll down because I'm trying to get y'all out of here by 8 o'clock. I'm trying to pray y'all out. It's been 2 hours. I got lots to do. I got to pack, clean the house. You know how it goes. California Prop 209 would also challenge the California efforts if it's race-based. Absolutely. Thanks to Kuhn, Ward, Connerly, Friedman, who decided it was a novel idea to reverse affirmative actions for freed people here in the state of California in the name of reverse discrimination. And this is what the task force knows. And now the communications that's over all the anchor orgs to get the word out about these task force meetings has set up here and constructed something in private to almost guarantee that the reparations in California will be for all Blacks. And why does this matter to you all over the country? Because as California goes, so goes the nation. Click on the link, respond self for organization, and who should get reparations? Black American descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. Don't say anything else. And prayerfully crossing fingers and toes, you'll get that link and join us tomorrow. I'll be at the airport, but I'm going to jump in for as long as I can before my flight. Okay? At 2 o'clock. I'll be there. I got my link. Many of my comrades have gotten their link. But y'all need to show up. I can't believe we're at the place where we literally have to fight to determine who is eligible for reparations. It is unconscionable that we're at this place. And so we've got to get that exclusively for Freedmen to set the tone for whatever federal repair will inevitably come. And to be able to help you guys in your respective states to get legislation crafted exclusively for you with California as the precedence. Okay? So we need y'all to show up and show out. Not just tomorrow at 2 Pacific Standard Time, I think. Let me check, y'all. I don't want to give you misinformation. Hold on. I'm going to go to my link. Hold on. Yes. It's at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I don't think you're getting in there unless you have a link. Okay? So please, please, please click on the link up top and sign up so you can be present and accounted for. Y'all need to fight for our reparations here, akin to how we'll help you fight abroad. But we need all hands on deck. So not just tomorrow, but I'm going to send you the link to sign up for public comments. If you send me a Gmail, let me put in the chat. The respect at Gmail. Hold on. All right. 2 G's. I mean, 2 P's. Yeah. So I need you guys on the 29th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to call in and flood the zone with nothing but Freedmen so that we can block all of the Pan-Africanists and the Black immigrants out of that conversation and go hard in the paint with your 3 minutes. Okay? You have to sign in early to make sure you're in the queue. And it still won't guarantee you be heard, but get in there early. Because the last time I was cut off and they saved me for last, I was first in the queue. But I'm coming with those comments, and they're going to be stronger and more ferocious and more streamlined this time around. And I'll try again. But we need to flood that zone and make sure the Pan-Africanists and the Black immigrants don't flood that zone. Next Tuesday, the 20. Hold on. I think that's the 29th. Yep, next Tuesday. Send me a link, and I'll send you the link so you can make public comments live. Thank you so much. I'm going to transfer that, Cosetta Osler. Thank you so much, my love. I'm transferring all of the contributions from tonight's broadcast to Marcel Dixon's campaign. Thank you so much. Okay, no disrespect. Maureen Simmons said she wrote AB 2131. I think it's 3121, love, for ADOS. But Weber made her change AB 2131. Lord, the numbers are failing me now. AB 3120. I thought it was 3121. Weber passed the buck to Task Force. Task Force is full of immigrant agents moving goalposts. Yeah, pretty much, Satra. You know, that's why we've got to listen. I don't know the inner machinations of how it was derived. I know Dr. Shirley Weber to be the author of AB 3121. You know, I don't know about all of the backstory, right? And so I can't speak to that. I do know the name Maureen Simmons, AB 3121. I don't even know if Maureen Simmons is out here in California. So I really can't speak to whether or not she is the author of AB 3121. I know that to be Dr. Shirley Weber's from its origin. And that is what the grassroots out here sunk their teeth into to get those edits in there to make it specific to Freedmen Black. They got some specificity in there, which is why it's being challenged, because the language as it stood prior to our special consideration language was going to be for all Blacks. So I'm not as invested in the backstory, and I know you're not being disrespectful. But the bottom line is, I don't believe Weber passed the buck to the task force. You have to understand how the task force was selected. That was the governor and a couple of senators chose those people. So while, yes, I believe that there is a hidden agenda, I don't know that they flood the zone with immigrants. I believe the language was a little ambiguous, and Dr. Shirley Weber came on to the task force meetings to make it plain, to make it clear as to whom it was intended for when she authored the bill. Gavin Newsom in the 11th hour with the help of Ice Cube, and I want to say Maxine Waters was involved as well, were able to get his signature to pass that bill before it became dust. It was about to self-destruct in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so Waters and Cube got involved and got that signature. And then Governor Newsom had 3 picks. A couple of other senators had a couple of picks. And the one pick we had was Chair Moore, Camila Moore, who's brilliant, bright, and extremely talented and very poised. And I give her a lot of praise for the way she's managing on that task force. She's better than me. She acts with such decorum. You know, she's an attorney, international law. She knows about reparations. She's fought for reparations abroad. And she is representing us in a very dignified way. I just really appreciate her. She has come on to one of our lives. We hope to have her back on the 30th on another Black Civic Live. Make sure you tune into Black Civics, NASD, Black Civics on Twitter Space. Tomorrow, we're going to have the attorney who's fighting on behalf of the Blacks in New York regarding the decision to allow illegals to vote in New York. And so that is who is going to be on tomorrow's Black Civics NASD. Make sure you sign up and follow us there. I will try to make it on, but I will be en route, so I'm not sure that I'll make it in time, but I'll do my best when my flight lands to see if I have any time left to join you guys over in that space. But yeah, she's already been, Chair Moore has already been on one of our Black Civics post a task force meeting. So we're hopeful to have her back, and all we can do is move forward and fight, because our lineage is dependent on us to get a victory on eligibility, not just in the state of California, but all over the country and federally, okay? The Zoom link is already out. Okay, I think, oh yeah, I put, oh, okay, so, okay, it's in the chat here. Let me put it up. This is a Zoom link. It's in the chat over here if you're interested in helping us to fight for eligibility on reparations for California. I personally don't think that if you aren't given a special email, I don't believe they're going to let you in. I believe they've got a very tight list. They never intended for us to find out about this. They did it in secret. So I don't believe that you could just click on this link and get access. I highly, highly, highly encourage you to take action at the top of the thread here in this particular live and sign up. I don't trust them to give you access if you just click on the link. Yes, March 29th is the eligibility vote. Start joining the Blue Jean call-in and or link before the 8:30 PT start. Yes, if you Gmail me, the repperspect@gmail.com, I can give you the link to make it super easy. It's on a whole different app that you have to download before you can get access, and I want to walk you through it, okay? What's up? Oh, well, Griffin. U.S. Rep. Jim Clyburn says affirmative action has been a form of reparations for slavery and the people working to erode affirmative. Now, see, this is listen, to thank you for sharing this lie. This is the grift. This was never a form of reparations. A few boomers benefited from affirmative action before they gave it away to white women, LGBTQIA, and immigrants. You'd be hard-pressed to find freed Black people benefiting from affirmative action. If we were still benefiting akin to the boomers who were able to get $30 an hour, they didn't even have to go to college in the very beginning with civil rights and affirmative action. They didn't even have to go to college. They filled that bucket. But now when you can fill the bucket with white women, immigrants, and LGBTQIA, where does that leave freedmen? So the problem with affirmative action, as was civil rights, it wasn't exclusive to us. And it was designed that way, right? To give it away to everyone to make us the permanent bottom caste. A few of us got through. But they didn't give a damn about Gen X, Millennial, or Gen Z coming behind. And so that's what we're going to have to do with reparations. We're going to have to put up the gate and keep the gate up. The fight will be forever to make sure we don't have white freedmen and Asian freedmen and Hispanic freedmen. Because it will be co-opted akin to civil rights and affirmative action if we don't put up a secure enough gate. That's exactly what's going to happen to our reparations. And like I said, Black immigrants either want it to make sure they stay above us. They're 1,000 times or greater more wealthy than us. They're sharing in 2.3 trillion, actually more than that. We share less than 700 billion since COVID. They share 2.93 trillion. 10% of Blacks share in that 2.93 trillion. We share in the 700 billion, less than that, 90% of us. That's freedmen. Now it's more like 86-14. And in record time, they're seeking to replace us completely. I already did that broadcast. Look at the archives. They will outnumber us because why? As Mr. Marcel Dixon said, many of our women choose abortion because of poverty. But when you're 1,000 times more wealthy with a median income nationally of about 150,000, you're able to have your children and educate them just fine, you see. So that's how you replace us. You get to get married because you can afford to, and you get to have babies. And that's what they're doing, 40 going north with the few that are here. So we've gone from about 10% to around, I want to say 15 to 17%. And they're able to take that and grow and grow and grow, akin to how we did post-slavery. Yes, Freeman need to flood that public comment call-in segment. Absolutely. Please Gmail me. I put it in the chat. Yeah, that was a Zoom info for the secret meeting being held tomorrow. But like I said, please register. I don't know if your name is not on the list or your email is not on that list that you're going to be allowed access. Satra Del Reed 360 says Crown Act, HR 40, CBC, all nothing burgers, along with Maya Angelou on the back of a slaveholder quarter, and $300 million invested in crack pipes to line the pockets of white and immigrant drug programs in the name of the crack addicted, for the opioid addicted, really. The crack pipes are designed for us to kill ourselves with the fentanyl-laced heroin by the Mexican cartels that Biden has let into the country by not protecting our borders. Hi, Trey. What's up, Lawrence Jones? We got to address the temp agencies being a pipeline for illegal immigration. Oh, yes, they are. Oh, yes, they are. We've got to get what is it called? Family, somebody help me with the term. We've got to sue these corporations for allowing this. They should be enforcing it. Something ID. Oh my God. It's illegal for them to hire illegal immigrants, but nobody's holding them accountable. We've got so many fires to put out. What's that thing called, y'all, where they actually verify illegals? E-Verify? Let me see. E-Verify, that's what it's called. E-Verify is a web-based system that allows enrolled employers to confirm the eligibility of their employees to work in the U.S. Okay? This is what we've got to sue for. But who has the money? This is what happens when you get neutralized economically. Okay? E-Verify employers verify the identity and employment eligibility of newly hired employees by electronically matching information provided by employees on the Form I-9 employment eligibility verification against records available to the Social Security Administration and the Department of Homeland Security. E-Verify is a voluntary program. However, employers with federal contracts or subcontracts that contain the Federal Acquisition Regulation, FAR, E-Verify clause are required to enroll in E-Verify as a condition of federal contracting. Employers may also be required to participate in E-Verify if their states have legislation mandating the use of E-Verify, such as a condition of business licensing. Finally, in some instances, employers may be required to participate in E-Verify as a result of a legal ruling. E-Verify, which is available in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands, is currently the best means available to electronically confirm employment eligibility. That's what we got to hold everyone to, fam. But when you've been neutralized economically, how do you go after the temp agencies and the employers, the private corporators, and the public sector? How do you go after them? Satra says, the burden of proof is hard. Civil Rights Act of 1866 dismantled. That's right, Satra. That just happened. What she's referring to is the Crown Act conversation. It is the burden of proof is now on us to prove 100% that being fired or not hired or whatever the measure is was solely due to discrimination. Byron Allen used it and then got bought off for us to have our Civil Rights Act of 1866 dismantled. Satra Del Rey 360 is on point. That's what happened. So basically, we can no longer sue for discrimination because you've got the burden of proof is on you to ensure that whatever the act was, whether you weren't hired, was due to your locks or your afro, or whether you were fired due to taking off your wig and exposing your afro. You can never prove that, which is why the Crown Act is another nothing burger to circumvent giving us what we've always been fighting for: social justice and economic advantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives. Vote closed border Congress to neutralize our most imminent threat, immigration, and Marcel Dixon and Tamara Johnson Shealy. In Obama-style numbers, we need to show up in droves. Lawrence says, that's what Sarenta means also. I don't know what you're referring to, my friend. Satra says, on jobs, the new code is you do not fit the culture of the job. What? Are they literally saying that, Satra? I promise you, you can show up speaking Spanish as fluently as Pedro, and you will not get that job, okay? Because you don't have the complexion for protection. You can't put white anywhere. They're not making us white. They're extincting us. If you can't get a job earning an American wage, you can't afford to get married, you can't afford to care for your children. That's happening real time, and the Biden administration has put 100s on it. Swanee G, I see you, fam. What's up, what's up, what's up? From Pittsburgh in the house. Hey, hey, hey. Thank you all. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, Twitter, for joining the live. Correct. If you are not an interpreter, you should not have to be bilingual in an English-speaking UA. You shouldn't. This is another lawsuit that we need to file. Class action. These employers should not be allowed to insist that we know Spanish just to get a job interview and then deny us employment even if we know Spanish. It's another way to discriminate against us and lock us out. Another lawsuit, class action. The reparations clock is ticking, fam. We don't thrive. We don't flourish without reparations. You're talking hundreds of trillions of dollars that white folks killed and stole from us, our ancestors' heinous chattel slave labor that built the wealth all these groups eat from, right? That are now giving it away to fund their war against Russia by way of Ukraine and giving away our reparations to immigrants and to line their own pockets. Was that person Latino? I'm not sure who you're referring to. Could you be referring to the gentleman at the Freedman Bank Forum? He was definitely a Latino. He talked about the 106 different ethnicities under the Latino brand. Okay. Yeah, 126 or something like that. And how he intends to take over the South. And the 100 million of the 9 billion set aside by Kabami and Janet Yellen, okay, was given to their credit union in North Carolina. He's going to turn around $1 billion in assets and lend to Latinos to buy up houses in the South. Oh, thank you, Bobby Generic. Great broadcast. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and I'm glad you're here. Thank you. DJ Segwan says they did the same on the East Coast. I got stories. Well, I might need to have you on here as a guest. Gmail me, thereprespect@gmail.com. And don't forget to join us tomorrow evening, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. NASD Black Civics in Twitter space. It's going to be rich. It's going to be lit. The attorney that is suing the state for the on behalf of the blacks in New York for giving illegals the right to vote will be live. NASD Black Civics in Twitter space tomorrow, 5 p.m. Be there so you can weigh in and ask questions and all the like. Marcel said the person who asked about Latinos was black. Can y'all believe that? I don't know if I heard that part because I was too busy trying to multitask and pull up articles and flash your comments. Oh, yeah, I can believe it. There's a lot of coons out here. There's a lot of black, white supremacists out here. There's a lot of black, white oppressors out here. Do you know when Cap, former ADOS DMV, was on the steps for the 1866 that was being tried by Byron Allen against Comcast? When they appealed to, I think it was the NAACP or National Urban League, they were asking them to stand with them because the day prior they were on the steps with the DACA recipients fighting for DACA. Do you know they literally told my comrades, who was asking for them to come fight to preserve the 1866, they literally told my comrades, why aren't you fighting for illegals and for DACA? Why aren't you fighting for the Hispanics? Miss Powell knows. Hopefully she can chat it in the comments. Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me that some black coon had the unmitigated gall to ask, what about Latinos on his platform? These are people that hate themselves and hate their own lineage. Many of the LAPD are Hispanics. Oh, yes. And many of the LAPD are gangs doing very nefarious things on the LAPD. Oh, Lord. Pray, family. Tornado on ground, New Orleans, 9th Ward. Oh, God help. Oh, Lord. Catholic caste system always at play. You better know it. Here we go. DJ Seguan. Miss 13 Latin Kings, Nettas, Italians to Jews, all tried ADOS. This is why we have black gangs to combat the bullying from others. Look up the Black Spades gang from the Bronx in the 70s. Wow. I see you, Herb Saint. If you don't think immigration is a danger to us, ask yourself, can you afford to be wrong? Come on, love my folks. You cannot afford to be wrong this midterm and several election cycles to follow. We must bring the Dixiecrats to their knees, akin to the way we did the repugnant clans back in the Gap. It is time for us to have the backbone and the kahunas of our ancestors. This is not a popularity contest. It ain't a party thing. It's a Freedman flourishing thing. Okay? And don't slip in and tell me I'm not coming out to vote unless either party has an agenda. You ain't got no agenda coming. The Dixiecrats lie about George Floyd Justice and Policing Act and give $350 billion with a B more dollars to the race soldiers to come where? Into poor communities, which are largely dominated by freedmen black, to execute unarmed black freed men, women, and children with impunity. And the Dixie and the repugnant clans don't owe us nothing. We're not voting for them because we like them. We're voting for them to neutralize our most imminent threat, immigration. You can call me all the xenophobes you want. It rolls off my back like water off a duck. I don't give a damn. I've got an entire lineage to save. I am telling it all. Unapologetically. It's time for everyone else to get off the tit. Freedmen got to look out for Freedmen because clearly the rest of you are the only ones happy when the Dixiecrats have a trifecta. We're the only ones in distress. Well, I like to socialize my suffering. Buenos dias and lovely Tuesday. My hostess with the mostest. Hey, hey, hey. I've missed you. I miss y'all too. I come on as often as I can. Being a FloJo mom. Because y'all know I keep it fly out there on the track field. Y'all see me. Nails did, hair. Okay, I keeps it fly out there on the track. I represent FloJo and her energy quite well as a track mom. But it consumes my life right now as I'm working to get my daughter off to college. We live on the track. And then I come in periodically and I have my avatar up because I'm at work. I'm working in the courts at the same time, multitasking, trying to throw up a show here or there. So I miss you guys as well. I get on here as often as I can. That's why I'm going longer than I should be. I swear it's a 2.5 hour show right now. This is ridiculous, but I want to get through your comments. And I won't be able to see you again, probably not until next week, because we'll be in Texas. And won't be able to go live probably until Tuesday for the task force meeting on eligibility. Okay. The Hispanics plan to go south if the illegals get amnesty. They're already south, baby. Ain't no ifs. Nothing else is going down. Luis Pasteur, I think that was his name, that was on the stage of the Freedman Bank Forum. He said they're taking it over. And like I said, Back to the Devil You Know by Charles Blow, Be the Power, has been stressing that we need to move south so that we can be like Mason and take it over to get some political strength. I mean, the way we're being marginalized all over the country, I think that's already happening. I just need us to overstand our political power when we are heavily populated and exercise and weaponize it with full-chested reparationists, no doubt. Take over the school board, the city council. This is for your sister, my love. Get well. I don't know what you're referring to, Terry Lewis. Yes, Satra was born a girl. Biological, non-mutant female, XX chromosome. All right, Satra, welcome to the live, my love. Thank you for your contribution and thank you for being here. And thank you so much for always insisting my viewers like, share, subscribe, and turn on their notifications. I sure appreciate you, Satra. DJ Segwan says, hire me to be your engineer. I would love an engineer, but I have no money to hire you. That's a volunteer army. But hit me up, please, at thereprospect@gmail.com. Let's talk, because I do need someone that can help me go viral. Yes, the secret meeting tomorrow is 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Click on the link above to make sure you register. I don't believe you're going to get in if you just click on the link. I don't believe that. Weber did not decide who all are on the commission. Yes, I just explained to them, Shauna, that that was up to the governor and a couple of senators. Those were their selections. We got one of our choices in there. And she's the best thing smoking. Let's not add to the confusion. You giving info. Dropping knowledge, baby. I'm doing my best. Maureen is in SoCal. Oh, Dr. Weber issued it as Assemblywoman. That's enough for us. You got it right. Yeah, it's not 2131. It's AB 3121. Okay. Now playing Watch Later, add to queue, how the California Reparations AB 3121 bill came to be law. Guest legislative aide Maureen Simmons. Thank you, OLG. One of my favorite boomers in New York City local elections. That's right. She's speaking of the illegals getting the right to vote in the New York City local elections, but that's just a test dummy. because what they're trying to do is to get them to vote by the 2024 elections. That's what's happening. Don't sleep. Use your third eye. Erie Blackfire, I see you, fam. Great live. Good night. All right, fam. Thank you for joining. We got the email with the link. Yes, I did get an email with the link, but I don't trust if they click on your arbitrary link that they will be allowed access. They need to enroll. The Zoom link, OLG, is at the top of the chat stream. Okay, so when this broadcast stops, you can turn on your text and it will roll. It's at the very, very top. I did it at the very top of the hour. Yes, you must register. This is what I'm speaking to. Don't be clicking on nobody's arbitrary links. If they don't see your name and email as registered, you will not be allowed access. OLG, make sure to register. I'll send you the initial link. Thank you, Shana. Mr. D's News, I'll see you. They'll even say that elected Obama was our reparations, like he did something for black folks. Funny, isn't it? Woo-wee. See, this is why I rocks with y'all. You're absolutely right. Didn't Mitch McConnell's ace say that we gave you Obama, that's your reparations? The puckery is real. OLG, at Senator Akbari speaks out against the state takeover of Mason, Tennessee, and the supermajority's disturbing pattern of grabbing power from local governments. Oh, okay. I love that someone's speaking out. I know we need an action item. We need a plan of action. Not knowing English language is evidence enough for me. E-Verify that. Oh, yes. We do need to have E-Verify enforced. Okay, what does Shauna say? U.S. authorized HR folks have to be trained to verify I-9's government-issued identification. It's governed by the Department of Homeland Security. Well, I don't know that it'll be enforced, given that it's the very government that's seeking to weaponize immigration against us to keep us tethered to the bottom as the anchor of this country's capitalism. I don't trust it, especially if immigrants are in charge of HR. That's the next thing you need to check. Are free black in these HRs? I'm just saying, if we're not there, it ain't going down the way it should. There'll be no oversight. There'll be no checks and balances. Many companies do not do paper I-9s anymore to avoid false reporting, fraud, etc. Okay. The Crown Act is just more symbolism. You got that right, Mr. D's News. They are making us extinct and accept the black immigrants because they'll do anything to get a bag. Absolutely. Akin to trading us into slavery. You know, if you go to West Africa, you're still going to be used as a resource to enrich Africans while getting nothing. I don't think you get any land for 100 years in most of them places. Okay? So please know that when you show up and continue to vote blue no matter damn who, you're voting for your lineage's own extinction. That's what you're doing. And the time to sound the alarm is not after it's happened. The time to sound the alarm is now. I get mixed reports. Our numbers are growing. Our numbers are declining. I don't know what to believe, but I know that we need to fight like our numbers are declining. And with that being said, family, I'm at the end of this broadcast. I want to thank you so much for rolling with your sister for 2 hours and 34 minutes. I appreciate you. I want to bless us and pray us out. I want you to know, family, that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever Freedmen and its allies are, God truly is, because, family, you are the face of God. You are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Know that if no one's told you today, family, that I love you black and I love you so very strong. Yes, I do. Okay, family? Until the next time we meet, I want you to make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your evening and weekend. Until we meet again, family, I'm sending you a time of peace, love, and reparations. I'm out.